focus has been on the events that are unfolding in front of our eyes in the Middle East. The brutal regime in Iran is not, of course, the same as the Iranian people. Opposition in that country has been repressed for many years. Women forced to cover their hair, political critics jailed, and same-sex relationships banned, while the economy is in terrible shape. You might remember back in 2022, the frustrations of many thousands of people who took to the streets were met with force. So might this be a moment for those who want to overturn the regime? Reza Pahlavi is the son of the former Shah of Iran, and he told us this morning it's time for the population to rise up.
Well, since the initial strike, there's been a tremendous amount of activity, especially on behalf of the people who are in the streets and are obviously quite, I don't know what's the proper word to use here, but re-energized in the sense that this is maybe an opportunity now, seeing the regime being so weak and have weakened even more, especially with the practical decapitation of its force de frappe. It equals the playing fields for them. So I think, when you're dealing with a movement of civil disobedience and nonviolence against a very brutal regime, at some point, the odds have to be shifting towards the people. I think people are sensing that right now. So there's a new wave of hope and energy that has been created as a result.
You have opposed the Iranian regime for a very long time, though. What evidence do you have that these strikes from Israel are actually stirring up more opposition?
Well, the Iranian people realize, and the world needs to realize, that the root cause of the problem has been the regime and its nature. And the only solution ultimately that will benefit both the Iranian people as well as the free world is for this regime to no longer be there. I've been arguing this point from the very beginning, that the ultimate solution is regime change. Now we have an opportunity because this regime is at its weakest point. There's a window in which we can operate and hopefully liberate our country, and the world can finally breathe a sigh of relief that they no longer have to fear nuclear threats, terrorism, radicalization, and so on and so forth.
Yet many Iranians, and certainly the regime, may see this as an attack without justification from another foreign country. Israel began this fresh outburst of conflict. Do you really think that Iranians, therefore, won't they be stirred up against Israel rather than the regime?
I think Iranians have seen that the world has been more than patient, giving this regime ample opportunity to come around and be reasonable, even in the spirit of negotiating a deal. We have seen as a result of the stubbornness of Ali Khamenei that he is solely responsible for what has now happened, that Iran should not have had come to this point. But what is the responsibility at the end of the day? It's that of Ali Khamenei. It is his war, not the Iranian people's war. So ultimately, anything that weakens the regime, anything that pushes more to its back is something that people welcome for obvious reasons, because they see that strangulation that holds them in that position beginning to loosen on their necks. This is something positive and not negative.
Are you actually saying then that Israel bombing your country, civilians in Iran being killed, is a positive thing?
I'm not saying that the targeting was meant to hurt the Iranian people. The targeting was meant to basically neutralize the regime threat. Clearly, I don't think that it was an intention of the Israeli government to attack Iranian civilians.
What do you think then will happen next to the regime? You say people have been in the streets calling for them to be overturned. What will happen next?
Well, as I said, I think as a result of the regime being decapitated and weakened more than ever, it's an opportunity for the Iranian people to finally liberate themselves, provided, of course, that this time the world doesn't sit idle and demonstrate vividly that beyond just imposing sanctions or what have you, they're prepared to take the next step of giving the Iranian people a sense of support for their fight for democracy and freedom. This has always been the expectation of the Iranian people, and I think the world now has an opportunity to see that through.
And what do you see your role being? Because, of course, your family used to run Iran. Is it your ambition to go back and lead the country, perhaps one day? Is this actually a political opportunity for you?
Well, I have offered my role, and I've been on the record for the past 44 years of exactly what is my objective and what is my goal. And my goal is to see that Iran ultimately is rid of this clerical regime and that the Iranian people determine their own future freely through the ballot box, and a democratic process, a parliamentary process that will give the Iranian nation all the options once this regime has been toppled to decide for themselves. And my role there is very critical in terms of creating as much unity as possible so that we can work together towards that end, and welcome all those who are now joining with us so they can be part of the solution as opposed to remain an obstacle and be part of the problem. I'm beginning to see that happening. I'm being contacted from elements from inside, particularly now from the military side, and I think that's a very important development.
Reza Pahlavi, thank you so much for joining us on a very busy day for you. Thank you.